I am going to officially get started. Feel free to continue introducing yourself in chat and connecting with everyone. And I'm going to try and continue watching the waiting room and letting people in as they join in. As you may have seen, we have a slightly different topic than you may have seen some of the marketing for leading up to. And I'm going to further introduce Sally more later, but I just have to say that Sally saved me today when I heard very late last night that unfortunately our speaker, Nicholas, was very ill. And he's like, I can't even function ill. And so he couldn't come, which was disappointing because we're very excited to hear his talk. So we'll definitely try and reschedule it. But I posted out there because I was thinking, man, am I going to have to come up with a talk on the fly? And Sally said, oh, I've got something for you. So I'm super excited about today. And I'm super excited to have Sally here. I'm going to do our normal sort of introduction and some of our getting started information, and then we will dive in. So if you have not been here today, we have a Facebook group that you can connect between meetups if you are a Facebook person. It's facebook.com/groups/WordPress.accessibility, or if you just look for WordPress accessibility on Facebook, you should be able to find it. You can also find upcoming events and past recordings in one place on our website at equalizedigital.com/meetup. I do have to admit that our last meetup is not there yet. We almost always have them up within like 5 business days, but I had a snafu, if you remember, I was sharing the wrong screen for a good chunk at the beginning. So it took me a while because I was like, I want to fix that in the video and edit it with the right screen instead of my desktop of my children, which they're very adorable, but I don't know if everybody needs to see my children in the on my desktop. It took a little longer for us to do that. It's sitting with our transcribers right now so we can get corrected captions. And as soon as that's available, we will get it posted. But otherwise, you can find everything else on our website if you want to catch recordings. And this one will go up hopefully within a week from this meetup. We are seeking some additional sponsors for the meetup. So we rely on sponsors to help cover the cost of live captioning. We have a live captioner here today to ensure that the captions are accurate for anyone who needs or likes to use them. And we also rely on sponsors to be able to provide ASL interpretation. We don't have a sponsor for that right now, which is why we do not have ASL interpreters, because unfortunately it is prohibitively expensive for me to cover personally, and the WordPress Foundation does not have budget for live captions or ASL. So if you are interested in helping to support either of those things, please reach out to me. Or if you have any suggestions for the meetup, or you need any additional accommodations to make it work for you, if you're interested in speaking, we're going to be looking for some speakers. Reach out to us. You can email meetup@equalizedigital.com, and that will go to both myself and Paula, who's here, and you'll probably see her speaking to everyone in the chat. So reach out to us. Who am I? I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Amber Hines. I'm the CEO of Equalize Digital. We're a certified B Corporation, a WordPress VIP agency, and we specialize in accessibility. It's something that is really important to us and kind of who we are and central to everything we do. And so we started the meetup mostly because I wanted to have the opportunity to learn from a bunch of people. And I was like, what's the best way to get them to give me almost like a private session answering my question for an hour? Let's run a meetup. So we also have a product called Accessibility Checker, which is a plugin that scans for problems and puts reports in the dashboard. You can learn more about my company at equalizedigital.com, and we're pretty active on Twitter if you want to tweet us at equalizedigital. Our sponsor for this evening is WP Engine. They are covering the cost of our live captions. WP Engine, I'm assuming most people are familiar with them, but if you're not, they are a hosting company. They also own Flywheel, and they own the Genesis theme from Studio Press, and Local, which is a tool for developing websites, WordPress websites locally on your computer. they have been very generous, and they are sponsoring the live captions for our evening meetup for the entire year, which is incredibly amazing. That they like it. I wasn't even hard. Like, I just reached out to them and they said, yes, we would love to do that. If you get a chance, we always ask people to, maybe tweet at our sponsors and say thank you, let them know that it matters, because that helps encourage them to want to continue sponsoring in the future. So you can find them at WP Engine on Twitter. And then we have another sponsor, which is Empire Caption Solutions. And what they are doing is they have donated their transcription services post-event. So they take our video once we have it edited and give us perfect captions that are fully corrected. We really appreciate this, because we were doing this in-house for the first, 8 or 9 plus videos. And it takes a lot of time if you're not used to doing it and you're not an expert at captioning. So they have incredibly fast turnaround. The accuracy of the captions are great. They worked with us to be really clear about what we wanted, as far as whether it was verbatim or not, like all of those things. And so we thought they were great. So if you want to learn more about Empire Captions, you can go to empirecaptions.com. You can tweet them on Twitter at Empire Caption. And again, we like to say thank you to our sponsors, to encourage them to continue providing the services that help us make this meetup accessible. I have 2 upcoming events that I want to talk about now. In March, we are going to have our first talk is going to be called Accessibility for Content Creators. It's Ronnie Burt, who works for Automatic he's the head of the Sensi LMS team. And he will be talking about accessibility within the content creation process. That will be Thursday, March 3rd. It's at 8 a.m. Pacific. All the times on the slides are in Pacific, because this is in San Francisco, because that's where WordPress Foundation is based. I'm in Central Time, so I always think it's 10 a.m. for me. We put a few different times up there. And then our second speaker in the month of March, which will be in the same time slot on Monday, March 21st at 5 p.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. Central, is Lainey Feingold, who is an attorney who has specialized in structured negotiation related to disability and ADA cases for 20 to 30 years. She is an incredible expert in this area. And she'll be talking to us about what web accessibility laws are in the US and different things that we need to be aware of. So if you have a legal question, this is the talk to come to, because we have a legal expert who can answer and not just say, this is what I've heard, which is what I always say. So I'm very excited that Lainey agreed to come and speak. So tonight, I am really excited to introduce Sally. As I mentioned, she totally saved me when our previous speaker got sick. Sally and I have been getting to know each other, working on the WP Accessibility Day, which is a conference that's going to happen in the fall. And I've really just been excited to work with her, and how enthusiastic she is, and getting to know her. And she stepped up when she saw my plea on LinkedIn that, does anyone have a talk? And Sally happened to have a recorded talk. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I realize now I might not have shared the sound. So I'm probably going to stop sharing my screen and reshare my screen, because I only am so good at tech. And we'll play the video, and then Sally will be available to ask questions. And then what we're going to do, because the presentation is about 17 minutes, so it's not super long, is we have some follow-up questions prepared to really start a community discussion, which we've never done before at this meetup, but I think will be really fun and interesting to find some other resources and different ideas and have some conversations about learning accessibility here as a group. So let me stop sharing my screen and reshare my screen, because there has to be a snafu at every single one of these meetups, or I didn't run it. So in the meantime, Sally, feel free to introduce yourself or say hello while I do that.
Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. You'll see my whole journey in this talk, but it has been amazing. This community has been amazing. And I want to do a shout out to two people that are on this call, Joe Simpson Jr. from Castaic, who really, I call him my guiding light in the presentation, and Alicia St. Rose, who has been coaching me and working on my website, which is still coming. And I just hope that you guys are inspired, because I never knew what was possible until I dove into accessibility and met this amazing community of WordPress and accessibility people.
Yeah, well, we are so excited to have you. And so what I'm going to do, I have shared my sound. I am flipping to the video. And I'm going to hit play. And if somebody can't hear my sound, you got to tell me really fast. But hopefully this will function the way we think it will.
Thanks for joining me. I'm Sally, and I'm here to share my journey into accessibility in WordPress to hopefully inspire the same purpose and passion that the selfless WordPress and accessibility community has inspired in me. I also want to show you that it is never too late or too early, no matter how many years you've been on this earth, to change careers or start something new. If I can do it, so can you. I'll also provide some resources to help you start your own path to help make the web accessible and inclusive for all. I live in Central California, but grew up in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and come from an entrepreneurial family, even though I spent most of my career in broadcast entertainment. My grandfather actually opened up the first movie cinema in Montreal in 1905, and then started a huge chocolate factory with 6 stores, kind of like See's Candy, called Cleopatra Chocolates, who I named my dogs after. You can see Cleo is on the right and Patra is on the left, who unfortunately crossed over to the Rainbow Bridge 2.5 years ago. So just before Christmas this year, we unexpectedly welcomed a big puppy, Emma Noel, who was dumped in the country backside. Emma is short for Emmanuel, and Noel is French for Christmas, as she was our surprise Christmas present. So now I have an 8-pound and an 80-pound dog. Interesting times. But she has re-energized Cleo, my 15.5-year-old Min Pin Yorkie, and you can see how he loves to steal her treats and eat her food, so I never know what I'm going to find in my bed each night. Prior to COVID, I had my own digital marketing agency and was doing well. And then COVID hit all our worlds and turned everything upside down. I took a few digital marketing classes to enhance my skills, and my teacher always talked about LDT, learn, do, and teach. At this point, I had not heard of a WordCamp, a WAPU, or GitHub. I had heard of a Meetup and accessibility, but I wasn't exactly sure what they were all about. And I don't want to assume that everyone here is aware of digital accessibility. Just like the Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as the ADA, it provides guidelines for physical access. An accessible website allows people living with disabilities, of which there's 1 in 5 worldwide, to use their assistive technology to access the web. Web accessibility is also about removing barriers. The global pandemic brought the importance and lack of accessibility to the forefront, causing a sudden pivot to digital-only services almost overnight. Unfortunately, this left many people without access. My learning journey began when I attended my first meetup in Bakersfield, California, with Mr. Mike Pilley. I asked about accessibility, and he said, well, funny you ask, as we have a special guest here tonight, Mr. Joe Simpson Jr. from the Santa Clarita Meetup. Joe told me about the upcoming WordPress Meetup Accessibility Day Camp that was to take place that Saturday, where 3 of the meetups from Northern California of Los Angeles teamed up. Well, that Saturday, August 20th, 2020, my accessibility journey began, and I was so excited. Halfway through, I was hooked. I felt something had been missing from digital marketing, and I did not realize it until I discovered accessibility. I found my purpose and my passion. And even though I didn't understand all of it that day, it made a lot more sense the more classes that I took. So I dove deeper, well, actually headfirst, to learn all I could about accessibility. which you may sometimes see abbreviated as A11Y because there's 11 letters between the letter A and Y. So my learning started with the EDX Introduction to Web Accessibility course that Sumner Davenport recommended. And I love this course because it gives you an overview of how people living with disabilities interact with technology. Courses are also offered through DQ University, the American with Disabilities Act, Level out of the Netherlands, and Google now offers a free web advanced accessibility course, and Knowbility offers courses as well. Conferences are another great way to learn. DQ University has AXCon this month. Knowbility has their Access U conference coming up in May, and accessibility.com has monthly conferences throughout the year. I really enjoyed my webinars at Oklahoma Able Tech as well. And of course, you can check all the universities, and the University of Minnesota provides a list of every conference and webinar, which is really cool. And all these resources have links in the slides. There's podcasts, 125 accessibility meetups, and groups to join on LinkedIn and Facebook. A lot of resources are out there to help you get started, and Twitter and LinkedIn have lively conversations as well. So now that I've been learning, it was time to do. Excuse me. And I asked Joe Simpson Jr., who I now call my guiding light, how he could get involved, and he introduced me to the organizers for the Los Angeles WordCamp 2020. I joined in a little late as the volunteer wrangler, but everyone was so welcoming and gracious. To those in the WordPress community, thank you so much. You guys were just incredible. You don't judge, as we're all at different levels, and all you want to do is share your knowledge and skills to help us become better. I'm very grateful for that, and LAX 2020 was a lot of fun meeting tremendous people. After that, I asked my guiding light, Joe, and said, Joe, I really want to put my new accessibility skills to the test. What can I do? Well, he introduced me to the organizers from WordPress Accessibility Day, which was a 24-hour marathon in October 2020 of everything accessibility. You can visit the link on the screen, wordpressaccessibilityday.org, and review all of the past webinars. I was fortunate to meet Joe Dolson, who was one of the co-organizers and a huge accessibility advocate and leader in this community. He said they needed help writing blogs, which was great because I love writing content. So I wrote the blogs for all the sponsors who were wonderful to work with. So during this time, I was still attending a lot of meetups, and Sumner Davenport from the San Fernando Valley Meetup, which is now the new Accessibility Web and WordPress Meetup, which is also eligible for the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, or IAAP credits for their certification, told us about Knowbility's annual air rally, the Accessibility Internet Air Rally, which is usually in October. I really wanted to enter to be able to work on a web accessible website from start to finish. As our team was full, I signed up as an individual. I was teamed with these fabulous ladies, Renu and Carmina from Texas, and we call ourselves the Digital Diversity Divas. Well, we're not really divas, but we just wanted to have fun with the name. Our mentor was Heron Hentry from Australia, and she was such a blessing, full of knowledge, encouraging, and helped us get past that finish line. Our nonprofit was Uniform Meditation, who offers meditation to first responders and frontline workers. And we just love their concept, which made it even more fun to work on. There are misconceptions that websites can't be pretty or they're ugly if they're accessible. Well, that's really not true. Here is our site, and I beg to differ. Now, of course, I could be a little biased, but as you can see, the opening page is really beautiful and evokes that calm sense that they wanted to portray. On January 3rd, 2021, Knowbility announced the winners out of 31 international teams. When they announced the winners, we were completely shocked. We never expected to win anything as we entered to have fun, enhance our skills, and meet great people. And as you can see, we won 3rd place. This just confirmed that I could do this and that I was on the right path. Volunteering is a great way to do or give back, enhance, or learn new skill sets. I've met more incredible people by volunteering that I might never have otherwise met. Knowbility is always looking for volunteers, so check their websites for projects. Air Rally 2022 will be coming up in October. Watch their website, knowbility.org, in August when registration usually opens. And I came across Taproot, who pairs volunteers with nonprofits that need help on a project basis and can't afford to pay people. And of course, there's your local nonprofits. So with everyone at home, volunteering really helped keep me sane as I made new friends from around the world, and that wouldn't have been possible pre-COVID. To all the accessibility advocates who have been doing this way before me, thank you for paving the way for us newcomers, and I look forward to the opportunity to work together. Also, a thank you to the companies that put on a lot of courses at no charge and for a reduced fee. So after our rally, Joel invited me to be on the organizing team for Santa Clarita WordCamp 2021. It was a different experience coming in at the beginning compared to coming in towards the end. It was very eye-opening to see how a WordCamp is put together, and it gave me another opportunity to learn new skills. It also allowed me to work with everyone as a team, as with LAX 2020. As many of us here are freelancers or independent contractors, and we are used to working by ourselves remotely. So every path that you travel may have a disappointment. Mine was learning about overlays or overblaws, which are a quick fix or one line of code to supposedly make websites accessible. They actually make the user experience worse and not better. Sumner stresses to spend our time in educating companies about the value of accessible websites. If you're going to talk the talk, please walk the walk. Build an accessible website and be an example to what you are preaching. Carl Groves, who is a major accessibility advocate, is very vocal against overblaws, as so many others in the community. He created two websites, overlayfactsheet.com, of which I'm proud to be signature number 304, and Overlay False Claims that are very informative. I won't go through them, but please take the time to learn the truth. In the US, many business owners are being blindsided with demand letters stating their websites are not accessible. Overblaws actually puts them more at risk. In fact, Google searches for demand letters increased 62% in 2021. So now that I've learned and done, it's time to teach. And I know enough to educate people about accessibility without going too deep into the technical trenches. I've had the privilege to educate future digital marketing students and many digital marketing agencies, including a wonderful woman named Karen, who is going to start offering accessibility services by selling overlays. Once she understood the truth, she stopped. We need more business owners like Karen. Excuse me. This chart from WebAIM is their annual study, which shows 97.4% of homepages had weak tag failures, with the main one being color contrast. Usually it's the typical light text on a light background. So I won't go into WCAG because that's a whole other area. But what does this mean? It means that we've got a lot of work ahead of us to educate so people living with disabilities can be independent. Then Air Rally 2021 came around again. I posted about open registration on my LinkedIn page, and Nobility said they had their highest registrations for individuals, mainly because of my post, which was also my highest number of views. I was surprised. You never know how much you can motivate people. Then Nobility reached out to see if I want to be a mentor. At this point, I still do not feel comfortable mentoring a team on my own, as I still have so much technical items to learn. I asked if I could co-mentor, and I chose my mentor, Sumner Davenport. We were paired with 4 incredibly talented team members who call themselves Access Hippos, as their nonprofit was best for brain injury survivors. Sumner was such a huge help through this, as she has a ton of experience and knowledge, with the team affectionately calling her Allie Einstein. So we won second place. And as much fun as it was, I realized how much I still have to learn. Thankfully, accessibility is a journey. So wishing I was further along in my journey, I came across a tweet in January from Big Orange Heart, the nonprofit that WordFest 2020 is supporting here. Don't worry if your journey doesn't feel like constant forward motion. Some days you step backwards, some days you inch forward, some days you stand still. We all do. But look back over the course of a year and see how far you've come. Be proud of yourself. You're amazing. So after seeing this timely message, I felt much better because, again, accessibility is a journey. I had to take breaks from webinars and life happens, which slows down the learning. Sometimes when I'm feeling unmotivated or down, I would pull out a poem that I found in my father's books after he died when I was 12. It's called It's All in the State of Mind, author unknown. Some of the words that stand out to me are, if you think you'll be beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. Many a race is over before it's even run. Life's battle doesn't always go to the faster, stronger man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the fellow who thinks that he can. And this always motivates me, and I hope it helps you as well. And I have to mention my Auntie Lizzie, who always said to me, we're not here to see through each other, but to see each other through. And I love this because it really summarizes what accessibility is all about. Unfortunately, we lost her this last fall. So here we are 18 months later, and I share this slide because I never would have expected to experience so many wonderful moments when I started my WordPress and accessibility journey. When you follow your heart, great things can happen. And being nominated as a Yoast Care Fund recipient blew me away, as I'm still new to this community. So last summer, I had a milestone birthday and was starting over when many of my friends were retiring. To be honest, it was hard on the psyche, but discovering and diving into accessibility gave me purpose and a direction. And it also led me to a new opportunity as head of US partnerships and sales with AAAtraq.com, an award-winning insurtech company who mitigates ADA risk. One thing that really upset me during my studies was how innocent businesses were being served demand letters. AAAtraq educates companies while providing insurance and protection, and to date, not one of our clients has received a demand letter. It is a dream come true and more than I ever could have imagined. I can help businesses get ahead of these demand letters and educate them on accessibility at the same time. So my next goals are to finish my accessible WordPress website, complete all my courses at DQ, which I started to become IAP certified, and I've been inspired by the WordPress developers to enhance my developer skills, and full site editing will hopefully make that easier. I also joined the WordPress Accessibility Day 2022 organizing team coming this November with amazing accessibility advocates. And here are a few of those advocates to follow to get you started in no particular order. There are many more which you will find along your journey. Here are some dates of significance in the community and a few more resources. So I want to just thank you for your time again and appreciate you for being here. The pandemic was hard, but there were many positives, and I wouldn't be here standing stronger today, empowered with new skills and knowledge to teach accessibility properly, if not for my accessibility mentors, the connections I've made along the way, and new friends, and all the advocates who have fed into me and everyone else. I can't wait to meet all my new friends in person one day and give them a huge hockey hug. I hope you're inspired and encouraged to take your first step towards accessibility. Go out there, have fun, don't give up, and make a difference to do your part to help make the world and the web accessible for all. So here's my contact information, and I look forward to seeing you in the accessibility community. Bye-bye.
Sorry, everybody. Took me a while to find that unmute button. Thank you so much, Sally. So I first have to say, and let me go back to my browser tab here. Sally, what are we doing? Sally has provided with us, I will put a link in the chat, or maybe Paula can throw that in there. But she has kindly put together this Google Doc, which has tons, like all the resources and links and things that she referenced, which is amazing. So that we will put up in the chat for everyone. And then I wanted to start with thanking you, Sally, and then I think we have time for some questions before we move into our community discussion point. So Joe asked the first question, which is, how would you advise someone new to accessibility to get involved?
Yes, I'm unmuted. I would say one of the biggest helps for me was getting into an accessibility group, finding a mentor and people that can support you and guide you, just like Joe Simpson Jr. did, and Sumner Davenport has been a huge help as well as Alicia. I learned so much being in that group, excuse me, because people are constantly posting articles or sources or links. So it helps kind of speed up your learning faster than if you were to do it on your own. And of course, just following people on Twitter and LinkedIn, a lot of amazing resources that are out there. And I want to say too is, you know, because I'm so new, I'm a behind the scenes person. And I remember speaking to Sherry Burns Haber when she wanted to connect with me. And I was just like, wow, because like she's such a huge advocate, right? And I just said, I'd always wanted to connect with you, but because you're so big, I didn't think you would accept my connection. And she said, oh, silly. She goes, when I started, I just wrote everybody, you know, and she goes, you just got to do it. So don't be shy. The worst they're going to do is not accept you, but the accessibility community connects with everyone because we're all in this together for the better purpose. And so you've got nothing to lose. And if they don't accept you, then follow them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been my experience as well. Like people are really open. I will say though, I mentioned that earlier. That was part of my motivation for the meetup because I was like, well, that makes me feel braver about reaching out to people, right? And inviting them. So it's like I have a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that like everyone is open, I feel like.
And everyone that is connected with me in the accessibility community, which blows me away when I look at some of my connections, I take the time to write a thank you to each and every one of them. I send them a message because people have forgotten the gift of gratitude, you know, and so I just make sure that I always do that.
Yeah. Alice is wondering if you could talk about your process for your upcoming website.
Oh, okay. Well, I am working with Alicia St. Rose of WordPress with Heart, and she has a 16-week coaching program. And it's amazing because it's not just about helping me build my website, but she's totally encouraged me to think in a different way because content is king, as we know. You can have a website, but if there's not valuable content on it, people aren't going to stay. So we've slowly, just because I have so much going on, slowly been working on it. So we're still on the About Me page, and then I haven't gotten to the next step with her. So I'm just going to do a shout out to Alicia St. Rose. If you want help with your WordPress, she's amazing. She uses Generate Press. And I just have to say, when I look forward to our calls on Thursday because it just brightens my week. She's just always so happy and motivating and inspiring.
Are you doing anything special on the like planning of content front with regards to accessibility or testing or anything like that?
Well, I'm writing about my experience and then all the resources here. And I've written a couple of blogs that I'm nervous to put out because they're so different from all the other blogs everyone's writing about. Because my goal is to reach people who don't understand accessibility. So I kind of, I have one article called Accessibility in Marriage, and I kind of related to that, even though I'm single and never been married. But I just try to find a hook where that will get people to read it and get it, you know. And so I still have to learn about plugins. I know there's the Type 7 contact form, I think, Able Player. So I really need to get going on that because it's been a long process, but I just really wanted to inspire people to take the next step because now I'm working with AAAtraq. That takes up a lot of my time as well, but I just want to have a resource out there because people don't know where to go. There's so much and it's overwhelming and confusing. And again, if you can have a mentor or get to an accessibility group, they can help you navigate through, you know, all the options out there.
Yeah. Beth put in the chat, that's exactly the kind of content you should publish. Different will usually get more traction, not less, which I definitely agree. Like that sounds unique and interesting. And I think that will like bring people there. Do you have a timeline for launching the website?
I'm
going to put you on the spot in front of everyone.
Well, I started it a year ago, I think, with Alicia. So I really gonna really hunker down the next 2 months and get it done, at least just to get something up there rather than just like a coming soon, because things switched. I was doing digital marketing. And then when I moved into accessibility, I was going to change the focus of my agency to offer accessible services, mainly content, because I do a lot of content. But then AAAtraq reached out to me on LinkedIn and started talking to me and offered me this opportunity. And I felt I could reach more people working with them than I could just on my own one-on-one. So I'm kind of juggling both because I'm not going to let what I've built up, fall to the wayside, because I still have so many things I want to learn.
Yeah. So let's see. So someone mentioned the poem, if you think you are beaten, you are, by Walter Wintle. I think they said, this is Deborah said, I remember studying it in school. It's also known by the title Thinking.
Interesting, because I Googled that. And so my dad died in 1974, which meant that he had it in his books. And the picture in there is the actual paper I found in his books.
Okay.
So I Googled this gentleman, and it said he was like July 2020. And I was like, well, that's too recent. So it could be. And you know what? I can change it to possibly, no one's been able to confirm it was him, but I can change it to possibly, him as the author. But yeah, that's really stuck with me through the years.
Yeah. So I'm curious about this. This kind of goes ahead to one of the questions that I had for community discussion. But you just mentioned that AAAtraq reached out to you on LinkedIn rather than you going to them, which is super cool. How do you feel like growing in the accessibility community, like, did that contribute to that? Are there things that you did, do you think, that other people who are hoping to get jobs in accessibility might be able to do to attract attention from employers?
Right. Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah. I don't post a lot because, again, I'm still new, but I would post occasionally about accessibility, or I love promoting other people that, educate. And they reached out to me and we started up conversations, and they wanted my input on their presentation. And then it turned into, they were looking for someone to head up sales. And I've been with 3 startups, and prior to digital marketing, I was 20 years in sales. So it's kind of like a combination of both. And because I said to them, well, what made you reach out? Because if they advertise that job, like, I don't know if I ever would have gotten it. And they just liked the way I worded things and spoke and on LinkedIn. And I was like, wow, okay. But I can't say the great thing is follow a lot of these companies. And there's more and more positions in accessibility that are opening up. A lot of companies are starting to embrace accessibility more. And, the pandemic, like I said, really helped that. So like on the Air Rally team for BEST, one of the gentlemen had worked for a small nonprofit up north, and Level Access was looking for, I think, a project manager, and he applied and he got hired. And that was, he won Air Rally and then got hired. And so, volunteer, get out there. That's how, like I said, I have met so many incredible people here that if I didn't volunteer, I never would have. And I'm grateful for the time through COVID, as hard as it was, that I had the time to do all of this, and so really just volunteer, because like now I'm on the accessibility, organizing team, and there's a whole bunch of new advocates like yourself, Amber, that I didn't know before, so
Yeah.
your world just keeps opening, and we all are like-minded. So everyone just wants to help. It's, when I was in sales, no one would share knowledge or when I worked at the studios, because knowledge was power and there was all that competitiveness. And it's not like that in accessibility at all. Like, I love it. I wish I would have gotten to it a few years ago when I heard about it, but all my developers said it wasn't important and wasn't necessary, and they were wrong.
Yeah. Do you feel like, have you ever experienced, I don't know, what do we talk about imposter syndrome, right? Did you ever have in the beginning any feelings of like, I'm just getting started with this, I shouldn't volunteer, or I shouldn't, be in air, or anything like that? And if so, what did you do to get over that? And what advice would you have for somebody who's maybe experiencing that, like they feel like they're too new to accessibility to kind of speak up or post about it on social media?
Well, thank you, because I've mentioned that to a couple of people here that know me. I don't post as much as I'd like to because of that imposter syndrome, because it's been 18 months now that I've been in this. But with Air Rally, I was so excited. Like, where else would I have an opportunity to work on building a website from start to finish and make it accessible? And we actually customized our site in 2021 because our developer wanted to challenge ourselves, and the 2 top winners were WordPress. This year, we worked on WordPress, and the top winner customized their site. And it was my mentor from Australia, Heron, whose team won. But yeah, you just, what, like that poem, it's all in the state of mind. You just have to push through. Like, I get a lot of, honestly, negative voices all the time. You're too old. No one's going to hire you. And that's why I just continue. And I was going to, just try and forge ahead in accessibility and just see where it took me. And then AAAtraq came along. And it's harder for older people to get jobs, and especially in tech. Everyone's really young, which is great. My career wasn't in that. So I just have to believe in yourself and keep pushing, because everything that I worry about never happens. Or I'm going to write I'm a behind the scenes person. So even posting on my LinkedIn about today, I was so nervous, because it's like, well, who's this person that's, been in accessibility for 18 months? Like, what, when you look at people like, people that are coming up like Blaney or Sumner Davenport, or, Carl Groves or Joel Dolson or whatever, it's intimidating. But you know what? They are so welcoming. They really, really are. And I think once you get past it the first time, just keep going, So fear is false evidence appearing real. So just scratch that out. That's what
I love that. Yeah, I think that's all great advice. I mean, I still sometimes have moments when I'm like, am I really an expert? Like, I have to go Google it and be like, oh wait, yes, I did know the answer to that. It was right. Yeah, I think we all have moments of that. But
just like on Air Rally this year, when Nobility reached out for me, to be a mentor, I was totally surprised because I'm still so new. And that post I did had almost 500 views. Like, that's the most of any post I've ever written. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to lead a team to failure. I still, have so much technical knowledge and to learn. And that's why I was like, could I co-mentor? Because they had way more mentors than they had teams. So everyone on this call, join Nobility, like team up, enter alone, build your own team. I'm going to do it again, but I want to do it as a team because, like I said, I realized I still have so much to learn. And Sumner was really instrumental, with moving the team forward, because a lot of the questions were technical. I can do content and links and alt text and, the easy stuff. But when you get deep into the trenches, like I'm not there yet, but I'm not stopping. I will get there one day.
Yeah. And I think, that is really like learning through doing is what Air Rally is all about, right? They don't expect people on the teams to be expert. And that's why there are mentors there. I think that's a good transition to maybe our first community discussion item. I'm going to flip my view so I can see as many people as possible on my grid. Sure. So we've never done this before, but I wanted to open the floor. I think it might be helpful if people use the raise your hand feature if you're able, which is under reactions, just so we don't have a ton of people talking over each other because it gets challenging from a captioning perspective. If you're not able to find that, send me a message or let me know. If you're on assistive technology that doesn't work and you just need to unmute, then we'll understand. But my first question is, I was wondering if anyone else has participated in AIR and if they wanted to share their experience and how it helped from a learning perspective and what you think you might need to know going into it or not.
So not to put anyone on the spot, but Joe and Alicia are here and they were on Sumner's team, the team I wanted to get on. And they were, so I'll let them talk about that. Or I'd like them to talk about that. Sorry.
If either of them want to.
So this is Alicia, bronze woman with freckles. I did do the rally and I couldn't do it the following year because I was still recovering. I'm just very, very, very anal about what I do, and I wanted it to be perfect. And like the home stretch was a little rough for me. And I believe that that was the first year they had done it online. So we were the guinea pigs that year. And so I think it even started late. So that's what it was. Everything was compacted. And so I think that second year when Sally did it again, it was probably, you had a lot more time, didn't you? Okay. And also, okay, so
Yes, and it was much more organized. And
Yeah.
because they weren't pivoting, and they also provided captioning services on the videos by rev.com, which I'm happy for them. But do you know how many hours I spent learning how to caption our video? Ugh, but now I know how to do it. So,
oh my goodness. But the other, I do want to second that I went in it to learn stuff. I didn't know anything either. I code my own websites, and like I do custom WordPress development. I don't use like page builder or anything like that. And I didn't know this stuff, and I knew that that's why I wanted to do it. So it's not something that you go into because you know some accessibility stuff. You literally choose that nobility, the air rally, to learn some stuff, and you will learn stuff, lots of stuff. So I thought it was extremely beneficial, and everyone should at least investigate it, see if it's something you want to do.
And Alice asked, they'll put you on a team if you aren't part of one. So you don't have to go to it with the team, right? You could show up as an individual and they'll connect you with other people.
I think that's how most of them are. But I mean, we're one of the rare ones that like put our team together and actually wooed someone to be on our team. It was during that WordPress Accessibility Day, and Colleen Gratzer showed up on the PDF session. The guy was talking about accessible PDFs, and just the questions she was asking and all this stuff. I kind of Googled her, and I'm like, she's coming on our team. We sent her love letters and things. I sent an email. I'm like, hi, Colleen, you don't know us, but we love you. And
that's awesome.
She knew none of us, and she give her 1,000% points for just saying, all right, I don't know who you oddballs are, but I'll do it. And it was so magical. It really was. Like she knows a lot. And so she was
what's the time commitment for that, for doing air?
like 6 weeks minimum, I think.
6 weeks. And how many hours a week do you think you all put into it?
We have it somewhere. I think I put
was it a full-time job? I mean, could you still do your normal job?
You can. You can.
You laugh. That makes me nervous.
well, no, there's 6-7 people on the team, right? And everyone does different things. Yeah. So our first year, we didn't get our content until 24 hours before the deadline. I was up practically all night freaking out. And you know, that was the year that had digital marketing agencies. Yeah, getting content is hard.
From the nonprofit, because they're like your client.
Yeah, they're like your client. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the challenges too, is making sure that you can sort of usher your client along the way. Sorry, I finally was able to find a quiet spot.
This is Joe speaking.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Joe Simpson.
Light.
Joe Simpson, African-American male, salt and pepper beard, glasses, and baseball cap. I would just chime in. I mean, it was a pleasure working with Alicia. Like I was more on the front end design side. So as Sally mentioned, no matter what your skill level, they sort of put you on a team with other people of different skill sets. So everyone, and there was also like a checklist of all the things that we needed to sort of hit along the way, which was very helpful because most people don't think about those things in terms of building the site. So we had to build to something that was required. So it actually got you in the mindset of what I'm sure what you do, Amber, on a day-to-day basis when you deal with your clients. So it was really awesome, an awesome experience.
Well, I appreciate you all sharing that information about AIR. It's something that I've been curious about, and I'm sure other people have been. So my next topic that I want to open the floor for anyone is, are there any other resources that you would recommend for learning accessibility? I mean, Sally gave us a great list, but I want to hear if there's any others that people have found useful. Feel free to raise your hand if you want to share it, or you can share it in the chat and I can also read them out. Your list was so comprehensive. No one has anything else. So
think it's
Colleen
less
Gratzer was
regulated
mentioned
that way.
before, and I will say she has an online course, which I haven't done, but I've heard positive things from other people. So that might be something if you're interested in learning about from her. Amy posted in the chat webaim.org, which I agree that half the time when I Google, that's what comes up. So they have great articles and resources. We got a second on DQ and edX from Joe Simpson. Okay. So I have a question. Does anyone have a thought then? And feel free to put in more resources as well. How important do we think these accessibility certifications are for either learning and or getting employment specifically related to accessibility? Does anyone have any thoughts or experiences with that they want to share? Carlos.
Let me unmute myself. I think they're more important in the field of us learning about the subject, because a lot of times when you have a certification, people will look around and say how many other people have it, and use that as the basis for whether they consider it important or not.
Yeah. Can I ask you, can I put you on the spot? Do you have any of the certifications from the IAAP?
No, not any recent ones.
Okay. Yeah. Do we have anybody on here? Because I personally do not. I've been studying for the web accessibility specialist, but I haven't taken the exam. Do we have anyone on the call today who has them? Alice raised her hand. Feel free to unmute, Alice.
It's late. My brain isn't and my hands aren't working. I took the IAAP, the basic course several years ago. I work at a community college. I'm in the disability services department. So I've technically been doing accessibility work about 8 years now. But I'm a lifelong learner. And so Sally, everything you've said tonight resonates, and just trying to learn more. I'm also retirement age, and I'm hoping to retire from full-time work possibly this year. I'm also an older mother, so I have a potential law school student in the fall, graduating from college. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do. But what I'm finding is that, and I took the CPAC test pretty early on in their process. I have a side small consulting, it's a contract through our state network of colleges called the Tennessee Board of Regents. And at the time, I think I took it in 2017, 2014, the Tennessee Board of Regents launched an accessibility initiative that went quite well and quite full on for a couple of years, until the person who was most passionate about it in the leadership role moved to another state. And we still have the initiative. It's just that there has been less, I would say less mandates. He was a bit more powerful about what he wanted the colleges in the group to be doing, and had regular benchmarks of things like looking at your top 30 courses and looking at those kinds of things. So most of what I do as far as accessibility now and in the last several years has been document accessibility, and then also textbooks, which is still a huge issue. It's gotten a little bit better for my sighted students in the last couple of years as we've gone to more digital, but for my blind students, it's still very, very difficult for the most part. And even with the initiative, we still have issues in terms of adoption and procurement. But I think from what I've been seeing in the last few months, as I've been looking forward towards what the next part of my career is going to look at, I've been in assistive technology for over 30 years and in disability services since I was a teenager. It was one of those paths that just got me early as a volunteer, and then I went to college, and I've been in the field ever since. I tried to become an engineer, and that didn't work out, so it wasn't my path. But I'm very much looking towards what is possibly going to help in terms of doing any kind of consulting. And I am seeing the IAAP, either the core credential, which is the one I have, and then I just bought the DQ course for the web accessibility, because I can look at code. It doesn't frighten me so much anymore now that I know it's a language and not math, which is not my strength. But I don't have that skill set that many are looking for. Sally, you mentioned this too, about what skill sets were needed in terms of being able to say to someone who is writing the code that this is what needs to be fixed. I can run automated checkers. I'm very passionate about user end testing. I had the fortunate experience for the last 8 years of working with someone who is blind from birth, and he's been my guru in terms of teaching me about how to think as a non-sighted person, since I am a sighted screen reader, and how to think about that. So I do think that the credential in this instance is helpful in terms of the learning. When I studied, I bought the DQ course, much like I'm doing now. And my testing was paid for by my accessibility specialist side contract that I have. It's just a very small contract that I get paid for a little bit every semester. And who knows where that's going to go. But that seems to be the way that you can learn, is by going through the testing. I'm not looking forward to taking another test and keeping up with yet another credential, because I also have the Rehab Engineering Society of North America credential. And the issue, I think, with credentials becomes more of that, of like trying not to stress out that you won't have all of the points that you need by the end of 2 years for RESNA, or 3 years. Although IAAP, having this being certified, they're a little bit easier to get the points for than RESNA. RESNA requires certain CEUs from only certain places, and so that gets a little tricky sometimes. But I think that it shows your commitment to the field, that you're willing to study, you're willing to learn. I'm a little on the fence about whether or not a test shows what you know, but it does give you some indication of what you know, as well as what the standards are. And like I said, recently, just kind of looking around and seeing what's out there from remote employment, it seems like a lot of people are putting that not necessarily in the top part of the job description, but in it would be nice to have. So there are places where that's,
so it could help edge you out over other candidates.
I think so. Yeah.
I will put out a quick note that our meetup, and I think also Alicia's meetup, does your meetup count for the continuing ed credits for IAAP?
No, I don't know how you do that.
Oh, wait, maybe who runs the accessible web, Sumner?
Oh yeah, that would be them. I can't do that. Yeah, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, it's
So
Sumner.
our meetup and that one both count towards continuing ed credits. So that's helpful. You're getting some right now. But yeah, I feel like I'm seeing it more as kind of like a nice to have. I haven't seen it yet as a requirement for a job on the agency side, but it might become one. I would think if you wanted to work in like higher ed, I would expect in the web development department or in some government agencies. So does anyone else have any thoughts or opinions? Oh, Joe, you've got your hand up about credentials.
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in. Part of my journey this year for me, I'm trying to get involved. Like I'm on the Make Accessibility team, and I wanted to see how tickets are pushed through the process in terms of making WordPress more accessible and getting more experience. And one of the things that I heard that sort of was disappointing was a lot of the folks that are on the team aren't really high on getting certified. They're really more into getting, fixing things on your learning through doing. So that, I was on the track to get certification and things of that nature. And then when I heard that, I was like, I should just start, building and testing more sites and learning on my own. So I'm sort of torn about what approach, but again, I don't want to discourage anybody, but it was interesting that a lot of the folks that are making WordPress more accessible, some of their opinions were that, hey, you need to just get in and get your hands dirty instead of doing some kind of certification. So
yeah, I mean, I will also say that I was talking to someone on the Make team who is a screen reader user who's blind. And he said that his understanding is that the actual testing, like even the online testing, is not accessible, which seems a little bit hypocritical.
And that was someone on, and that person presented at your meetup. He said that their website isn't accessible.
Yes, he said that he was having problems on the
issues.
IAAP's new website, like the old one was better than the new one. So yeah. Alicia, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, and this might answer that question that Alice just put up there, because I am the get in there and learn as I go. And that's why I did the air rally. And I can tell you how it works with me, because I work alone. I'm juggling a lot of things, and I do custom development. So I'm actually get at the code. I can get at the code. If it's a plugin or something, sometimes there's a barrier, but I will write the plugin developer and inform them of things. Okay, and then also I will write the theme developers, and they can be really receptive. And in some cases with GeneratePress, even change the documentation and add certain things, because when we were in the air rally, there were certain things we needed to do, and they were like, oh, wow, okay, because their theme kind of got in the way of it a little bit. So what I'm working, it's more of it's an emotional thing before it's a tech thing. I try to put myself in the context of being like, if I couldn't see this web page and I couldn't, and I like, or I couldn't tab through, it's almost this holistic thing of like, if I was just like a blob and I couldn't do anything, how is something on this page going to be a hindrance? And then I'll come across something like, for instance, prime and double prime to signify inches. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, those can signify other things too. So what will a screen reader do with those? So then I literally just Google. I will Google at least once a day or something about some issue that comes up, and I'm starting to think outside the box about this, and I'll Google and then I'll learn about it. So I stopped doing those because there were some screen readers that got them mixed up. And so now I use inches and feet. I actually use the words, and it's like, that's off the list now. No more prime for inches and things. And there's a whole artwork website where this guy had diameter and length and width of everything. And so just things like that. And so every time I look something up, I add to my trove, but it's almost like this personal journey, because it's the one that I'm going from the projects that I'm working on, not going to get a certification where they're telling me a whole bunch of stuff and I might not touch it again for another year because my project's not doing that. And then by the time I have to do something, I forgot that was in there. So it's like we're all like working so much on our WordPress sites, if we're if we're developers and stuff, or even if we're copywriters or graphic designers who mock up things. It's the same thing. As you're mocking up, you can just wonder about, oh, what happens if I use a serif font or a non-serif font? How does that affect people with like vision? And then you're just think about it, right? And then you just Google and get a little bit of information about that, and then you make your decision accordingly. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, I feel like this is it's like the WordPress way, honestly. And I don't know if it's this way because I haven't worked in other like languages, right? Or really, I'm not in the Drupal or Joomla community or whatever. But I feel like a lot of us are very self-taught, and there's a lot of like learning through Google or like other people's courses or meetups or things like that. And so it's almost like it feels natural to us to like approach this accessibility learning in a similar sort of way, like the way you're describing it. Like that is a lot of how I have learned too, right? Is through having a problem, listening to it on voiceover, and then being like, well, that sounds weird. Wait, why does that sound weird? And then trying to figure out, can I find a better example on some other website? And then what could I do differently, right? Carlos, do you want to say something?
And it's important to remember too that we're in a transition period as a WordPress community, because we are moving from what we all know, PHP, writing, mixing the PHP and the HTML and making it all look the way we want it, to blocks, Gutenberg, React. And I think that makes it really important for us to start pushing the core team and other people at Automatic for accessibility. I posted in the chat, the W3C dropped WordPress from consideration because of accessibility reasons. So I've been working with Gutenberg and theme-based block-based themes for a couple months now. And it's a totally different experience. So as developers, we need to start pushing, document your accessibility, tell us what we need to do, make it so that we can make our sites accessible without having to figure out backend code that may not be familiar to us and not having to become JavaScript developers in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of concerns around the speed at which some of the particularly full site editing is going out there and what the implications for that might be for accessibility. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. I pushed before State of the Word, I tried to push Matt Mullenweg to encourage people in a single sentence that accessibility is important. And he responded to me in post status, and he said that the challenge with that is that he doesn't even want to talk about accessibility because he feels like people tell him they're just doing it wrong. And I get that, like there's a fear, right? And this kind of circles back to, you know, talking about it on, you know, talking about it on social media. Am I going to make a mistake or say something wrong? I mean, I've been recommending a block plugin, and somebody mentioned to me, it was a block, accordion blocks, and somebody mentioned to me, hey, did you see that support ticket about the headings don't show up in the heading list? And I was like, oh, I had no idea. I was totally wrong. I missed that. So clearly I was making a recommendation to our clients, and we've been using it on a lot of projects for over a year now, right? But I think you have to be willing to just be like, oops, we made a mistake. We did something wrong, but we still have to talk about it, right? We can't just be like, well, we're going to bury it under the rug. And I think that's the thing too about, you know, going out on social and being willing to talk about things, and not being afraid on that end. So I had a question then about, and this is something people ask me sometimes, and I'm always curious what other people have at the top of their list. If we're talking about starting small and starting incrementally, and obviously we can't make an existing website accessible overnight, or if we're learning and there's only a handful of things that we can do initially to get started, if you had to identify the most important things to do for accessibility on a website, what would be on that list? And I'm curious to hear what's on other people's lists. And I'm totally going to let somebody start talking because I apparently have to plug my computer in. Jen, do you want to talk about that while I grab my
Sure. I literally have like a top 11 items to make your site accessible to regular people. So one of the biggest things is like when I first get a website and someone asks me to look at it, and I'm like, honestly, this sucks for a normal person. Like your font colors are really poor. I can barely even read this text. I'm like, this is not great for someone who is sighted. let alone someone who's not sighted or someone who has other issues. So I hit through the get an accessibility statement. There's that like really minimal one. I think it's on W3. They have a super minimal accessibility statement. So just get the super minimal one up, saying that, you know, you're trying, and contact us if you're having problems, but not committing to any sort of specific standard or anything like that. And then get your colors in order. Make a link obvious. I can't tell you how many times clients come to me with a site and they're like, oh, I love how pretty this site is. Look how pretty this is. And I'm like, I don't even know where links are. There's like 4 sections of text. They're all different colors. I have absolutely no idea what a link. This bolded blue is not a link. This bolded blue is a link. This plain black is a link. This plain black is a paragraph. Just, you know, make it obvious to regular sighted people. That's kind of where I start with people on accessibility, is just make it easy for everyone. And then we can start working on, you know, making it keyboard nav and working through stuff like that. But just make it decent for a regular average person to start. And I can get a lot of buy-in from clients to get through that step. And once they kind of get through the first step and you get them to say yes to something, then you can get them to say yes to the next thing and kind of move on from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, there's so many things that impact everyone, like literally everyone, if we just improve the usability of those. Melanie, what thoughts do you have? What's top on your list for things to fix?
Well, I'm like Jen. I mean, a lot of it is just like, for me, you know, good design, but fonts are a huge one for me. Super skinny font. And now my picture doesn't show it, but you know, I wear contacts with glasses on top of them so I can see. So like I had a former client who's had this, their designer was dead set and always putting white text on a light blue background. And, you know, and it's like, I can't see it. And I'm supposed to make edits to your website when I can actually see the text. And another thing is movement for movement's sake. That drives me nuts. You know, it's like shooting a moving target, you know, with everything moving around the page. It's like, just because you can make something animate doesn't mean you should. And headings are one of my my big things is headings should be, you know, hierarchical. And I mean, I've even let my VAs go because they would not do that. That and alt text for images. So it's like this, it's a non-negotiable. Headings have to make sense. And so, you know, it's all the good practices you should be doing when you're building a website anyway. But fortunately and unfortunately, you know, we're in an industry where somebody can wake up and say, gee, I think I'm going to be a web designer today, you know, and they don't know what they don't know. And, you know, and then we come in behind them and clean up the messes. But yeah, there's even me, you know, I've been doing accessible websites for a few years and I'm still learning. And it's great when we can say, oh, wow. And of course, I'm looking for the same thing, the holy grail of an accordion that's accessible. Because I really need it for an upcoming project.
It is always a learning process. I appreciated that too, like Nick Croft and his, when he gave a talk earlier and I introduced him because I was like, I've been following him forever. I think of him as like, you know, he's got all the certifications. He's been doing it for a really long time. He does it on major websites. I'm like, I introduced him as an accessibility expert and he's like, no, I'm just learning. right? So I like that we're all learning, but I have to say, and then I'm going to let Beth share hers, but I 100% like, I think headings are top of level for me, just because with our users, we do user testing for our clients, and we bring in users. And I feel like that's one of the things that I have learned the most from watching people on screen readers navigate, is how important those heading levels are. And that you don't choose them for their size or their font. You need to choose them for their numerical order, right? Beth, what's the top of your list?
I'm actually not going to answer that question. I just wanted
Okay.
to say this based on some conversation that's going on in the chat, that this area is really new to a lot of us who haven't really had a lot of exposure to disabled persons. And we may use the wrong words that might make you feel uncomfortable. Please understand that we're all just learning this. We're new at this, and this is something that we're not accustomed to. So just be patient. We'll get the language right. It'll happen eventually. But, you know, let's all cut each other some slack. I appreciate the education that's going on in the chat, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think specifically for anyone who can't see the chat, what that was referencing is someone might have used the term normal. And I tend to, the phrase I typically use is I say someone who's typically able or typically sighted, typically hearing. So I think that's specifically what that's about. I think it is hard with language. I would say, and probably, I wish I had a really great resource on this, like what language works well. I feel like maybe Sherry Bernhaber might have a post about language that works well, but I always feel like, you know, going to the source, there might be some, you know, you want to hear from the people who live with the experience and try and get an idea of what language they prefer. Because I know recently, actually, Nicholas, who was supposed to be our speaker tonight, and hopefully we'll get him back soon, I saw an exchange with him and someone on Twitter who she used the word handicapped, and she is a person in a wheelchair, and she likes that word. And he was like, I don't think that word is okay. So that's the other thing too, is it can be very different for different people as well. But I think it's a good conversation. I think in general it's good for us all to be aware that there are words that are maybe not ideal to use. Danielle, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my neurodivergencies is that I often sound harsh. So that could be part of it too. I think in an environment like this, you should kind of just assume, like, in order to not be offended by someone sounding offended, you should just assume that we're all coming from a place of like trying to help out. And I mean, I kind of run into this in the queer community too, because you have people in the LGBTQ plus community that don't like the word queer, and I do. So it's often, you know, I think there's a few things that you should stay away from, because more often than not, you would offend somebody. But in general, you kind of just say, if you're going to come across a word, you say, oh, when I'm referring to this, here's what I say. Is that okay with you, or whatever? Or like, oh, how would you like to be referred, or something like that. But yeah, it's always going to be a touchy subject. I think when it comes to using the word normal, there's so much precedence for everything. You have like being in school and not being normal. It's like this knee-jerk reaction. So that's usually one that I would stay away from. But other than that, as long as you're coming from a place of like, you're caring what you're talking about. And honestly, it's probably good branding, saying things that work for normal people for who you're targeting. That's probably going to work best, because they're like, oh, normal people want this too. It's just, you'll then just probably inadvertently, or, you know, on purpose, piss off a lot of people in the process. But yeah, I mean, to talk about a couple of things, I had mentioned a few in the chat. I think alt text, I mean, luckily Google and the major players are kind of caring about accessibility stuff. So it's a little bit easier to convince a client that it's important, because it has direct impact in, you could run a report on Google rather than like running a report for accessibility, as unfortunate as that is. So you have things like alt text and like color contrast and all of that stuff. Actually, Google cares about that stuff. And so, we can thank, some of these major players for, having care for some of these accessibility things. I love that movement for movement's sake. And then just like using correct markup, like H1s following, H2s following H1s, et cetera, not using H1s outside of a section, more than once. So I think if you just go in with the best of intentions and trying to do those like top 4 things, you'll cover most of what the issues are. And then it's really just a matter of like running a report, using that your accessibility plugin, and sort of just chipping away at issues. I think it's a very what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very like scary thing to be like, how am I supposed to account for all of these things? And you're like, well, you're not at first, but the point is intention, just like the words that we're using. So I feel like if you just do those 4 things, most of the things are going to be fixed. And then, I'll stop talking now. I can be kind of rambly sometimes. Oh, and you're muted as well.
Yep, I'm muted. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate circling back a little bit, but I know we've got a couple other people with their hands up. But I was going to say on that whole, like, approaching things too, like, I think it's interesting. It's not also necessarily just about, let's do these specific things, but sometimes it can be like, let's do this specific page. Like if you're like, this is a page that gets the most traffic, that matters way more than the page on your blog that was a post you wrote 5 years ago that you don't even see in Google Analytics because probably no one but the Google bot goes there, right? Like, so I think sometimes like that's the way we like to approach it. And I think like from a learning perspective, that's a good thing that took me a while to realize, because I was like, the whole thing has to be 100% accessible. But like, really, it's like the pages that people go to have to be accessible, not the random things that no one actually look at. But yeah, Alicia, I think you were next.
Yeah, so I'm glad everybody did go ahead of me because then I can like just peg on something on the top. My one thing is the click here.
Yes.
So that is a cause for editing, people. It's a cause for editing. It's a cause for like maybe make a sentence out of this and maybe even explain to us what we're clicking on. Like I say, like people can actually see the thing. And it does become richer to make the whole phrase. Click here for our PDF download, So the other one about the terms and the names for people. I will just tell this from my personal experience. I can't give that much power to something that comes out of someone else's mouth. And so what I really focus on is where their heart was. And I know that this is like maybe a controversial viewpoint that some people have really feel it's important that the right terms are used, but there's a heart that matters more. And that's what I listen to. And that it's like a vibration music for me. And that discussion that we were having was heartfelt. She wants to help people. And every situation is so nuanced. And even for me, like I introduced myself differently than Joe did. So, and I the term doesn't apply to me. I won't let it apply, but I just wanted to put that out there for my personal thing. I stand as a unique individual that wants to help people. And finally, for like, when I really want to convince people about accessibility, I try to find anecdotal stories. Like me experiencing someone with a screen reader and the pain they went through trying to order a Christmas trinket or something. They didn't know it was Christmas because the description didn't say Christmas trees. So they could have actually been shopping for Easter and got this Christmas thing. And so when I start telling personal human stories, people really, I've seen people go, oh, like that, like they hit them somewhere in a place that's visceral. So that's what I do to try to help people. And it works almost 100% of the time. So
if you don't have, so if you're just getting started with accessibility and you maybe really care about it, you want to get your clients going on it, but you don't have any of those personal, like you don't personally know anybody who can share that story or anything like that. Do you have any resources that you like for learning those stories so that you can then communicate them, and be like, I heard this, right? Or
Right.
whatever. Provide real world examples with real people.
That EDX course, because that's what's so powerful about that. It's EDX accessibility course. It is not about tech. In fact, I remember the first story that I knew was going to be a valuable course to me, because they talked about this man who was blogging, and then he was blind, he was blogging, and then they changed the blogging platform so he couldn't actually blog anymore and communicate, which was something that was really important to him because now it was less accessible. Then he ended up getting an illness, I think it was cancer or something. And maybe we get just a cough or something. We run to the internet to look for answers, and we were there for a long time, maybe too long. But we get there and we start digging and we find answers. He couldn't find anything because the web's only 1.8% accessible. So his answers weren't going to be on a government website. You know what I mean? I don't know that guy. I just found that story out because that's when I decided to take that course, where it's just showing you that human being after human being with things that you can't even imagine that they have to deal with because of something that is but with their body that you didn't imagine could happen with somebody, and so it's not just about blind people on the internet. That's what most people think it is. They'll say, well, we sell cars, who's driving? I mean, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They should have the same experience, and they can be buying a Tesla.
Just because they don't drive the car doesn't mean they're not the decision maker
Yeah,
in their household.
Yeah,
Like
so
maybe their partner drives the car, but they are the one who controls the money. Like
exactly.
You don't know.
Exactly. It just
Yeah.
doesn't matter what. It's not our place to put their story in there for them. They have their own story. This goes back to the other thing I was talking about. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's.
I want to let Carlos chime in, but the second thing that I would add for user stories is the A11Y Rules podcast. He has these they're like 5 to 7 minute episodes. I love them because they're short, like he calls them sound bites. And he asked people I've talked about them before because that's how much I love this podcast. But it's been so eye-opening for me because like he's even like, it's like someone with ADD, right? And you just think, well, does ADD really impact being able to use the web? But people will literally say like, these are problems that cause me issues. So I can't complete a checkout or a form or whatever, right? Or, colorblind people, like he's had people of all different, someone who's like, I can only move one finger like a tiny bit. And that really, I think for me was really eye-opening, like listening to that podcast. So I highly recommend it. Carlos, what thoughts do you have?
It's interesting because one of the first things I do when trying to address accessibility is I run the site through a screen reader myself. Took me years to fully learn how to use VoiceOver to a place where I think I may be getting somewhat good at it. But I run it so I get to hear what a page sounds like. And I get to hear, for example, when you use the apostrophe double L when you're writing, VoiceOver will spell that out, apostrophe LL instead of the will contraction. And there are times when it will get confused and it won't be able to fully navigate a page. So showing that to the client and saying, look, this is what a person who's just using voice assistive technology to listen to your page sounds like to them. Would you like this to be your experience? And that has worked for me. That has been a really good conversation starter, eye opener. This is not acceptable. What do we need to do to change it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is interesting hearing how screen readers sometimes interact with content, like even things that are not arguably wrong. Like we had a whole conversation about it could be grammatically correct. My partner's name is Chris, to not do apostrophe S on something that ends with an S. So if something belongs to Chris, we could just say Chris apostrophe. But when a screen reader reads that, it reads it as singular. And so we were like, nope, even if we think it looks weird or the MLA or whatever doesn't say that it's right to have the extra S, we're like, we should probably put the extra S because for a screen reader, it sounds better, right? And, you know, if somebody sends us an email about our grammar and our website looks weird, then we'll just be like, okay, well, whatever. But like, you know, there are little things like that, or even like numbers on dates. I write them out now with the ST or the TH, because otherwise it like sounds weird the way it reads it. So I do feel like that was a big learning curve for me when I finally got over the fear of screen readers and I just like started playing around with one. And then I feel like I learned a lot just by like hearing what it sounds like. So.
And now we have no excuse because all computers, whatever the operating system, come with an integrated screen reader.
Does Windows have a screen reader that's built in?
I believe so. I'll check.
I did not know that. When I was in Windows, I was always using NVDA, which I downloaded, and I sorely miss. And every once in a while, I think I need to get rid of my Mac just because I hate VoiceOver that much. So, but we are at 8:35, which means we have a few more minutes, and then we'll need to wrap up for the evening. Does anyone have any final thoughts that they want to share or questions for the group about learning accessibility or getting better at accessibility? Nobody. Well, if you do, feel free to either raise your hand or post them in the chat. But in the meantime, I will say thank you to everyone for coming tonight. Thank you so much.
Tell everybody to save the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be stuff in the chat you can save. We'll also post this up once we get everything recorded. Thank you again to Sally for her awesome talk that spurred this great conversation. I've been kind of wanting to do something where we have more of a discussion, but I didn't really know how to do that. And so I appreciate it that she offered that up last minute and saved me. Thank you, Sally. And this was great. And she has an amazing list of resources, which is in the chat, and we'll also post them up with the recap as well of great places to learn about accessibility. And our next meetup, because this is a short month, is like next week on, right? Nope, never mind. I'm thinking about the calendar wrong. It's not. It is on Thursday, March 3rd, and we'll be talking about accessibility for content creators with Ronnie Burt. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it, and have a great evening.
Thanks. Great discussion. Thanks, Amber.
Bye.